Um, it just came up recording in progress. And now we all have to approve it. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. We decided as a group leadership team to put a little thing together, including a couple of people that we have in the study. And the purpose of this video / roundtable talk is to help navigate through the Golden Retriever Lifetime Studies necropsy and how we're all handling it, how people have gone through it, people that are thinking about going through it, people that don't want to do it. So basically, everything that we're talking about here is our personal opinions, and we're just sharing them with you and our feelings that we have. And also some very good information that we had through a conversation. We're going to keep it very conversation-ish, and everybody can just speak as they would like. I'm Beth Bernstein, and I'm going to let everybody else introduce themselves. Valerie?
Thanks, Beth. I'm Valerie Robson, and I actually have 11-and-a-half-year-old hero number 11, Astro. Leslie.
I'm Leslie Sly, and I have hero 2708, Lenny. Sherry?
I'm Sherry Wilson. I have Angel Hero Bailey, number 2646. Stephanie?
I'm Stephanie Ansley, and I have hero number 33, Dirk. Amy?
I'm Amy Roby, and I have Angel Hero 457, Hamlet.
Okay.
Leona.
And I am Leona Messing, and I am the indentured servant of Hero Brewer, number 991.
Indentured servant. I like that.
Well, aren't we all?
Yes.
Yeah. Pretty much it. Well, I personally want to thank everybody for joining today, and I just feel like this is a message we need to get out there. And it all came from a conversation on a, like I said, a leadership team conversation. And we found out that a few of us were a little leery of what might happen next with the necropsy. And we feel that's probably kind of common. You know, we in the beginning at 2, you know, with Journey, I just was, yes, we're doing this. We're going to happen. Everybody should do this. And I was like, how could you not do this? And Journey's 11 now, and we've had a close call, and I didn't know where my necropsy kit was, and I ran out the door without it, and all kinds of things were going through my head, and I said, I can't do it. And so I came to people that I respect in the study and said, hey, how is everybody else feeling about this? And what we found that 3 of us were feeling the same way. To say since then, we've had more conversation, and I've done some research as well as some of the other people here, and I am set for necropsy now. And it was through that fear and talking through with these other people that I got to where I feel I need to be. I don't want to take up a whole bunch because a lot of people want to talk, but I'm going to give you a quick lowdown here. Journey vet is in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina. I live at the beach. The drive to Raleigh is 2 hours. Drive to the necropsy facility is 2.5 hours. And it is a facility that specifically treats diseased animals and also, you know, perform end-of-life findings. And so I was starting to get scared about how I would feel about that if I had to drive with her in the back to that far. So I reached out to some of my friends locally and said, I'm scared. I need to know I need to know answers, but I'm scared because I pretty much think I know how this is going to happen. But so I reached out to a friend, and she was lucky. I was lucky enough that she knew the head of a practice that's 15 minutes away who has offered to help me in this situation. I had to do a very odd thing, which was make an appointment to meet with this doctor and discuss how, you know, what was going to have to be done, what was needed to be done. So I'm walking into an office with a very healthy dog, and talking about end of life. And so with the box, and it was amazingly awkward, but I had them include an ear cleaning in it, so it wasn't completely weird. So we did an ear cleaning and got all that done. And I did find a decent, very nice doctor who is going to help me out with this. And in the process of doing that, I also learned to do a couple of other things, because I've been in that panic situation of thinking, oh my God, this is it. What am I going to do? I had no information. I had everything, but all of it went out of my head. So I've done a few things to make that last run out the door a little less awkward. And we can talk about that as we go around the table. But that's how this started. And I know everybody else has a story that they would like to share. So go ahead, whoever wants to come up next. What are your, like, you know, what are your feelings? What are your thoughts?
Well, I was very much the same way. I kept it to myself because I was embarrassed that I was thinking about not doing the necropsy when far into the future that Lenny leaves me. And then when Beth brought it up, I, you know, kind of confessed that, you know, as invested in this study that I am, for me to feel this way at this time, after all these years, was really difficult for me to process. And so, you know, I felt so much better when I found out that, you know, she was feeling the same way, and that there were others that I spoke to that had that same thought. Lenny actually goes for his 8th study visit on Wednesday, and I have scheduled some time right before that I'm going to sit down with his vet, who has taken care of him since he was 8 weeks old. And we're going to go over everything that she can do as far as the partial necropsy, so that, because again, like Beth, I would have to take him in an iced situation from here in Maryland, Baltimore to Philadelphia. So it would be a drive. And I really, really wanted him to have, if I had to have the necropsy, that I wanted it to be done by somebody that knew him and loved him. And so that was important to me, and not just dropping him off somewhere and he was just, you know, sample 2457Y, you know. And so that's my meeting on Wednesday. I guess I'm shadowing what Beth just did. And I feel very confident that we're going to have a very firm plan. She's 10 minutes from my house and would most likely come here and, you know, euthanize him here at home, because she's done that with all my other animals, so that they're in their own environment.
Yeah.
Wow, Leslie, that's I think this is the first time that I've had people talk about not about their feelings, negative feelings about necropsy. And I so appreciate that. I know I've talked to Beth, and I've talked to a few other people affiliated with the study, that what a difficult thing it is. And while we provide that service as a veterinarian, we've put those plans in place for some time, doing what we call what you're calling a partial, what we call a cosmetic or a surgical necropsy, where we take samples that we could take at any general surgery. And we've done that. I've done it for years. We've offered it as a service for years. And this is a little more intense. As Beth knows, I've called her when we had our first one, and we were missing some things that we needed some contacts. But it is, you know, as a pet owner, then it becomes very difficult. In the last, you know, last week, I did a necropsy on a dog that has the same parents as mine. And every time I do that, and we've lost 3 of his litter mates in the last few months, every time I do that, I think, am I going to be able to? Am I going to be able to do it? And I have colleagues who are willing to step in, and we have a whole team of people who, when we have one of our hero dogs or we have one of our, a patient, they step in and they want to help with the pet that they've known, like you said, from the time they were 8 weeks old. They want to be there to support. They want to be there to help in every way possible, but it still is a very difficult thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in a similar situation, I think, to Leslie, in the sense that I had my doubts as well, or not doubts, but reservations. Even though I'm a member of the Go team and I'm encouraging people to do this and find facilities, you know, at the beginning, I still had my own doubts. And I think it's for the same reasons. It's not any doubts in having a necropsy done. It was the fact that I can't find anywhere local. I'm going to have a good 2.5, 3 hour journey. And it's like, can I do that journey with Brewer on my lap, but no longer with me? And what if it happens in the middle of the night? You know, if we choose when to send him over the Rainbow Bridge in the middle of the day, that's one thing. But if it happens in the middle of the night, you know, I couldn't just go and drop him off somewhere in like a cold storage lockbox. I couldn't leave my baby there. And then I'd also had a word with my vet, and this was a couple of years ago, so I do plan to bring the conversation up again, but I'd asked her about doing Brewer's necropsy, and she thought about it and talked to her team. And again, she's known him since the day he came home, and all her team have been there. And they just said, we're sorry, we know how important the study is, but we couldn't do that to Brewer. Brewer's not just another one of our patients. He's been here with us from day one. A couple of the staff members have looked after him when we've gone traveling. We've participated in different events, and they just all said we couldn't do it. And so I understand there's that hesitancy as well from vets that have got that amazing relationship with their dogs. But when he's got a checkup coming up soon, and I am going to bring it up again and just see if they'd be willing to do the partial necropsy if I'm not in a position to get Brewer to, you know, a facility that does the full necropsy. So, you know, it's possible that other people may be having the same response from their vets, and that's why we don't have a big list of places that will do necropsies.
That's an interesting point, Leona, that it's actually the vets in some cases that are leery of doing that.
Yeah.
And that I hadn't even thought about that aspect until you brought it up.
Yeah.
You know, with Bailey, I had talked to my vet about it at a study visit. You know, in 15 years, when we lose him, can you do a necropsy? And he said he could, but like a few minutes later, he said, we've got the CSU extension office here local. And he said, they're better equipped. They could do the full necropsy for you. And so we lost Bailey pretty suddenly. And my vet came to the house, and I'm going to be the first one to cry.
No, you're not, because I'm crying, but I have glasses on.
Yeah,
You can't
it's
see.
okay. Well, you're allowed. We're all crying.
Go.
We'll all be doing that.
That's why we're
He
here.
came to the house, and we told him goodbye here, and then my vet took him for me. First they stopped at the vet clinic and did the paw prints, and then he took him out to the CSU extension office, and he had his full necropsy. But I will tell you, I didn't do it for the study. I did it because I needed answers. Mm-hmm. Because I still had a bunch of questions about what had happened and why it had happened. And so I think everyone's going to come at it from a different way. And I don't love the thought of a necropsy. I'll just admit it. I don't love that thought, but I needed answers. So it was hard. It takes a while, you know, and it took a while for them to release his body to be cremated. And I struggled with that a little bit. And I don't know if it would be different in a partial, if, you know, it could be done quicker, but it's not easy. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad that the study got, you know, that information, but it's hard.
That it's very,
Sherry, I agree. It's hard. When we lost Hamlet, we knew it was coming. And the vet who had done all the study visits doesn't do the procedure. And my trip, I'm in Colorado, it's 2.5 hour, 3-hour drive to Fort Collins.
Right.
And luckily, I'm not by myself. My husband and I had agreed. And we had this plan. I also lost Hamlet in the process of when we switched the boxes. So I had to make sure I had the right set of materials, not the old set of materials. We were also in the process of looking at moving. So a lot was going on, but we were lucky enough that it was a planned. We had an end of life vet come through to the house, and it was all planned, but we still had that 3-hour drive. So, you know, by the time we got to Fort Collins to drop him at CSU, it was very late in the evening. And luckily my husband had made calls and said, can we drop him at any time? What's the procedure? What do we do? And they said, you just pull up and you call us when you get here, and we're going to bring a gurney out and we will help with everything. And it was all, we knew what to expect. And I have to say, from not knowing who was going to do the procedure, I was kept informed of every piece and part and step, and then got the full report and the findings as it was released to Morris. And I felt my dignity was maintained and his dignity was maintained. And I have to say, maybe I'm different than some of the others. Valerie, I know you haven't spoken yet, but I do research for a living, and I know the importance of every point that needs to be looked at in this study. And that's why I joined, because I think that the information that we're going to gain here is not just going to benefit our animals, it's going to benefit potentially early oncology in humans, in children, in our grandkids and our grandparents, and in my friends, my family. You know, that's why we did this. And I was ecstatic to be able to be a part of this study, and I continue to stay connected. And so I would recommend, you know, for folks that are on the fence, reach out to even somebody you don't know, if you're on the Facebook page, or call the Go team and get just somebody to talk through it, because we're all in this together, and it's important to do that, and recognize your own fears. And sometimes it's easier to say, okay, I don't know who you are, but you were in the study, or you are in the study. What are you thinking? What are you doing? Where are you? What are you planning? And increase your network, because, you know, well, Valerie, we're both in Colorado, and she knows I've offered, I will travel and I will help. And it doesn't matter how far the drive is, you know, just the benefit of helping each other is critically important. And I felt fortunate, because we were able to plan, and it wasn't easy. But the team, I have to say, wherever, you know, if you have to go into cold storage, they're so gracious, and their empathy, their sympathy, it's been amazing. And everybody I've talked to since then, and we lost one of our supporters, very, you know, she went on her own kind, you know, she made her decisions, and it was a very different experience. But everybody I encounter, and because we were at a different location, they were so gracious, and they're our babies. They are our children. Wow. So, you know, that would be something I'd say, reach out, because, you know, the data and the information we get from every annual visit and every part we go in this study, we really need to continue to contribute to that. And I just know that from my own research experience. Every part of everything we do is important.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
it is. And
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Sherry, go ahead.
I'll make it quick. I remember just saying, okay, well, I didn't lose Bailey to cancer, so is it going to matter? And they said it absolutely matters.
Yeah,
Everything you
course.
learned in the necropsy matters.
Mhm.
And just one more point about the CSU Extension Office, they even sent me a really lovely card thanking me for participating. And they could not have been nicer.
Mhm.
Sorry,
Well,
Valerie.
No, and I think and Amy and I've had the opportunity to have lunch together and to hang out together in other ways. And certainly if Astro gives us the benefit of some planning time, I'm going to make Amy come and spend the night before with me. We have a wonderful guest room, and she's going to be here the entire time. I've already made that decision. And if she's willing to drive up to CSU with me, yeah, we're going to do it.
Awesome.
So
Good.
and if something happens and we don't have that opportunity, at least I had a conversation with my vet this morning when we were in for a regular appointment, and the standing joke is at least it was during office hours, because the last 2 visits Astro has made have been on holiday. And we've had to do it. Thank God our vet will come in on a holiday and help us out. But at least I had a conversation with my vet today saying, if it works out, this is what I'll do, but are you willing to, if I need you, will you help? And he's the kind that will come to the house too. He has with all our other dogs, Leslie, come to the house if we need to so we can say goodbye at the house.
Yes.
And he will do it at the house and make sure we get on the road safely. So bless his heart.
Yeah.
But it's a hard thing to think about. And when we all started this, we had puppies. We had young
That's
dogs.
right.
And the dogs we lost early in the study were really unexpected. And now that they're all getting older, they are all having more and more issues. I mean, Astro had an emergency splenectomy in July. Turned out to be not hemangio, but so now he doesn't have as much of an immune system. So he's starting to get infections, and now we're dealing with lymphomatic leukemia. And bless his heart, he still likes to go out and play and run around and eat deer poop. But every time he wakes up in the morning, I just kind of look at him and go, okay, you're going to give me a good day, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and it's for you guys that don't know, Journey was just recently in a hemangio study, and I don't know who here knows about it. But Barney went out to Minnesota and with Journey and stayed for 2 weeks while she had treatment for in this study for preventative of hemangio, because she is at extreme high risk for it. The first thing that we threw in the truck was the necropsy kit, because I said, we need to have it. God forbid something happens, but we're at a place where if anybody can take care of everything that would have to be done, Minnesota State would be able to do it.
Mhm.
So, it's funny. It's not funny. That's the absolute wrong word. It's amazing how you think differently when the opportunity, is there to take care of something that you want to get done. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of it, I guess is the good way to put it. But now, like I said, we had an emergency when she came back from that treatment, and everything went out the window. But I want to say something, because we've all we're back on the necropsy. We're all doing it, and now that we all have these plans in place, I want to make it very clear, we're not here to shame people who don't want to do it. That is your prerogative, and that is your choice. And you have given so much to the study by everything that you've done by staying in the study. You have given a ton. So that's first and foremost. Thank you for being a part of the study, first and foremost. And if you're able to do this part, thank you for that too. I also want to say, we've had a situation where a dog went into surgery or went in for a surgery to remove a lump or a bump, and it was not just a lump or a bump, and it ended up being, we can't do this, is inoperable, and it is cancer. And what do you want to do, knowing that the dog was in the study? And they're like, I mean, there are so many weird things that can happen that you're not expecting. And this is probably fourth dog that I know of that, we've been in a situation like that where it's like, oh my gosh, and then now you're sitting and you've got a little time to think about it, but now you just want to spend all the time you want with your dog. That's fine. You do what you want to do and what makes you comfortable. So there's no necropsy, no shame. Don't feel like that's what this is about. This is just educating you on what we've been through.
Because the dog comes first.
Dog comes first no matter what.
Yep.
And you come first no matter what. And I will say, I have done 2 necropsies on dogs prior to any study. I was actually working with Minnesota when we started, oh gosh, how many years? 18 years ago when they started working on hemangio. And I had to know, and my vet was very nice. And this is way before anything was even really thought of, but I knew of a study out of Minnesota and a Dr. Jaime, that was working on hemangio. And I said, I want samples and I want them sent to him. And this was a very sudden, it was my, I can't say it because then I'll start crying, but it was an awful situation. And I was like, Sherry, I'm like, I don't want to do this, but I have to know. I have to know everything. And the weirdest thing about that necropsy was 2 years later, I got a phone call and they said, I know that you are a breeder and that you have bred this dog and you kept everybody informed what's happening with you. Your boy wanted to let you know, not only did he have hemangiosarcoma, he had lymphoma. So I had learned something that I would have never have known. And as a breeder, from that perspective, that was huge to me. So there are things that you can learn if you decide to, that you can find out. And so for me, that was a big thing. Sorry, Orion's moving the table around, so my camera's been like this. But that's a little information that I thought was interesting. And when I did talk with the vet on, I think it was Wednesday here, that was going to be able to help me in this way on down the road, I decided that I've been in a situation where I thought, oh my gosh, we're done. This is it. What do I do? So I took that necropsy box and I wrote the phone number of my vet in Raleigh and the doctor. I wrote the doctor here, his phone number, and the Rollins place in Raleigh, if we can go for the full necropsy. I wrote all of that on the box where it was and put a little map in there so that we can just plug in the address, because you will not have it together enough unless you're, I don't know. Some people are really good in those situations. I'm really good at helping everybody that's on this call and everybody that's out there. But when it comes to me, I'm like, I can't do it.
When it becomes personal is when it all goes out the window, Beth. And I think that's what so many of us are feeling. And Amy, I love the fact that you talked about the planning and the fact that you were able to plan and to make those phone calls, and hopefully we'll be in a position where we have that time to plan too. But I also know that because of these kinds of conversations, we'll be able to make something happen, whether it's you know, a little bit more than the cosmetic, because our vet knows that, you know, we're going to want as many pieces of data as possible from that necropsy if he ends up doing it. But yet we also know that we have that opportunity to plan, hopefully. So that's what I appreciate about this discussion you've started, Beth, that it's made a difference in being able to think some of these things through. And, you know, you talked about the Go team, and I think Leona and Leslie, you're both on the Go team. And there's some wonderful, wonderful, caring, helpful people in that group. And I can't say enough good things about what you guys are doing. And so thank you for being part of that and for making a difference for a lot of people, because I know you guys end up with a lot of phone calls.
I also want to say too, real quick, for those that don't know, we are at 56%. I think it's 56% of people did necropsies, which is, for a study, with anybody who's ever been involved in a study, first of all, the fact that we've had the word just went out of my head.
Well, the compliance level.
The compliance level is just outstanding. And so you know, that's amazing. But
well, I think the retention too, Beth, the fact that so many of us have continued the study since our dogs were puppies are still here. And even those who have angel heroes are still here helping us fight the fight and supporting.
Yep.
You can't get rid of us.
You don't want to
Get rid of us.
No.
We wouldn't want to get rid of you.
And also, to put at ease too, a lot of people have said, boy, when you know, whatever the you know, whenever we come to the point where the page may no longer be necessary, it will always be necessary. We will always be there. All of us will always be, you know, on that page, and we will continue to have a camaraderie and raise our, you know, our siblings and whatever we have come post all of this. Yeah, we've created a family, and once a hero, always a hero, and they will never be forgotten.
Yeah, I think it's also good to highlight the fact that I know a lot of people are hesitant about the necropsy, just thinking about how invasive it is, and just the thought of what our babies will go through, to highlight and remind people that there is, I'm not sure of the correct term, Stephanie, you're probably the best person for that, but there's the full necropsy and then a partial necropsy, which isn't as invasive. So it's not sort of all or nothing. There is something in between. And then also, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on the recent neuropathy option that Morris have put out there, that we can also have done on top of the full necropsy.
I think that puts a whole nother aspect of it, though, on for the people who have to drive. I know before we sent the letter out to our clients about about how we would handle that we would do the cosmetic or surgical necropsy, and when you talk about what they'll go through, but I really and truly, I do think of it as a surgery. We treat it like a surgery. We treat the animal with that same, I've heard people talk about, you know, the respect for the person, the respect for the animal, and we treat those pets with the same respect, and their body with the same respect that we do a patient that's going to go home and worry about looking out at stitches tomorrow, right?
Right.
So, and so I feel very good about what we offer. But I think that when I called around to find at the university how we would manage for a neuronecropsy, and I really hit a lot of roadblocks. And that's at a teaching university with a veterinary college. lot of roadblocks, and if I feel a little bit of a little disconcerted about the level of care, they're not doing a good necropsy, because they are, and that's why I'm contacting them. But I feel that it becomes then more of a number.
Mhm.
And so I'm hard pressed to encourage participation in that, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I fully respect it, but I'm hard pressed to encourage when I feel like I can't really. There's the question of, what do we do after hours? What do we do on the weekend? What do we do on a holiday? And how do we reach somebody? And can the body be released for private cremation and returned to their owners? And I really take issue with that. And I'm surprised, honestly, surprised at the number of people who are having a hard time finding a partial necropsy in their local facilities. I really am. But I think because we've always been in a practice that provided, not in the same practice, but that I've been doing them for 25 years. You know.
It was funny because when I was first researching a lot of this way back when, I'm talking, gosh, Valerie, how long ago was it? It
Well,
was
it's been at least 6 or 7 years. At
7
least.
years, I think. Yeah, and I started
That's when
to reach out.
Astro did that little necropsy info video with Morris.
Yeah. But when I started reaching out, I just randomly, I did the puppy packets and the puppy and the vet packets when we were trying to get people into the study and get vets interested and tell their patients, their new, golden retriever patients, about the program. I later went back a couple of years later into a couple of those clinics and said, hey, I'm on the necropsy side of this now, trying to get information because we want to be prepared. And so I talked to a couple of vets, and I probably, out of 10 vets, I had 3 that said that they were capable of doing a necropsy. And the reason being is that it just was not called for very often anymore, and they did not have the proper equipment to do it, and they haven't done it since they were in school.
Well, and it's interesting that you were talking, Stephanie, about your responses you got from the teaching hospital. And I think that's the one thing, when I talked to CSU a year ago, Amy, even before Hamlet, you guys had to have Hamlet. They were so careful to tell me, we have somebody there 24/7. If it's after hours, this is the door you come to, this is the phone number you use. Somebody will meet you no matter what time it is. We'll make sure and they do release for private cremation, private individual cremation. They even give you three local pet crematoriums that you can work with. And they will directly release the dog to them. And so, I think the difference is interesting from teaching hospital to teaching hospital. And I don't know if it's because CSU has the Flint Cancer Institute, that they worked with Dr. Page, who was integral, such a part of the study early on until he retired. Maybe that makes the difference, but it amazes me that there are those differences between hospitals.
Yeah.
Well, and
I was just-
Valerie, sorry, Leona,
No, go ahead, Amy.
Talking to my own vet in the beginning, knowing that nope was not going to be an option, and calling around even, emergency facilities who are 24/7, saying, what are the options? I think it's important for every person and every family to have these discussions now, when you are able to process the information. And Beth, you talked about writing things down.
Yes.
even if you're on the fence, do yourself the favor to do the research of what do I do in X circumstance, and then don't make your decision.
Mhm.
Don't feel forced into a decision one way or another, but we were all willing and able and excited, and we're still there. We're all still here, not there, but we're all still here. We're engaged, however little or however much you are engaged. You did this for reasons when you decided to enroll your golden in the study. Do yourself the favor of getting the research done, writing it down, and then look at it in a month or 6 months or a year and make your decision later. But don't wait to do the pieces and parts.
At the
'Cause,
end, yeah, because you won't.
You don't want to kick yourself. You don't want, and I learned an awful lot, and that's why reach out to others, but take the first step, and you'll feel better. We are a part of a beautiful, beautiful study that's going to live forever. This will live forever.
Mhm.
And you don't want to, you just take step A. B, C, D are later. At least take step A and know what your options are.
Mhm.
Because I think that, I have to say, for all those who lost heroes in the middle of the pandemic, they dealt with a very different circumstance than what we're dealing with today.
Mhm.
Yes.
Thank you for everything that was done in the middle of that horrendous event. But let's not forget, these are our babies, and we want our grandchildren babies to benefit, and that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Mhm.
Human
And
and
it's
dogs.
Amen.
human and dog, yeah. So I mean, and for folks that are the veterinarians at Morris, talk to the physicians in all the early research, and it's just amazing the collaboration that goes on with not just this study, but every study that Morris is a part of, from to dogs, cats, horses, pigs, cows,
Bats, my favorite, bats.
bats. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And extending
The
to
bats.
people.
Yeah.
We have this inner link, and we just need to continue to pat ourselves on the back and say, wow, we're a part of something that's so much bigger than we even imagined. And I don't know, that it makes me excited to continue to look at what Morris is doing and what else can I do, where else can I contribute on my,
Yes.
so just don't forget.
It was
While you're
exactly.
thinking, while you can
Yeah.
logically write something down.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
I
and,
think it
and
was-
I work with older adults, and I have in my work, and we tell that
Right.
to families all the time. Make your plans before it becomes a crisis, because you won't be able to do anything in a crisis if you haven't planned. So it gets across the board, Amy.
Yeah.
And when way back when, and I think it was 10 years ago this year, that we attended our first veterinarian informational booth in Orlando. And I remember, Journey being a baby and being so excited about this opportunity to be able, as a breeder and showing dogs for 30 years now, to be a part of such a huge collective. And then also being able to find some answers of the reason why I quit breeding was because of the cancers that we have. But being at that meeting and talking to other veterinarians and talking to people, some people were just walking through. It was quite interesting, the level of opportunity that was seen, and what we will be able to learn from this is just beyond anything anybody in this call and beyond can think of. We will never see the full opportunity of what this study will provide. That's how big it is.
different.
So Stephanie, I was going to ask you as a veterinarian, they're both posted on the GRLS page, but it's I suppose the instruction booklets to go with the necropsy, both the full necropsy and the partial cosmetic one that are on the Facebook page. Do you think as a veterinarian, if you'd like for Brewer's vet that has said, no, she can't do it, if I was to give her a copy of the partial cosmetic one that details what she's got to do, that could be a possibility in changing her mind?
I think it's possible. For coming at it from two aspects. One, if you look at it as potentially look at it as a biopsy, as an exploratory laparotomy, which we all do quite frequently, where we're looking, going in, and we're going to fix it if we can fix it, right? And so I think we probably, and perhaps the generation of veterinarians now are doing fewer of those, because we do a lot more advanced diagnostics with ultrasound and things that when we may be going in to try to for example, take out the spleen, Valerie. We know the problem with the spleen because we could see it on the ultrasound. We found it on the physical exam. Now what we need to know is it hemangiosarcoma, or is it hemangioma, or is it something else?
Or is it a stupid hematoma?
Right, is it a hematoma? And so do we, if you look at it at the necropsy as a biopsy, we're going to go in and we're going to take a piece of this to see what it is. And then we're going to take a piece of this to see what it is. And so you're looking at it as really basically an exploratory, and you're taking pieces of tissue for biopsy. And I think presented in that way, it's a little less, maybe a little less traumatic,
a little less edgy.
But I would say it is, there also has been a push in the recent years for mental health in our profession.
Yes.
And it's hard. It's not easy. There's a lot of emotion that goes in with doing the end of life care. And so that may be part of why I thought, as we've been having this conversation, that may be part of why some of the teams won't do it. I know one that we went in on an exploratory with the hope of sending our patient home the next day, and that turned into our lifetime study necropsy. And we didn't have everything we needed, and we were on the phone with Beth and trying to find, but I know there was a lot of emotion, and we were all drained. And I had a team of, I had another doctor there, and I had a team of nurses who knew the patient, who volunteered to stay with the patient and carry through with this final gift that they could give. But it was draining, emotionally draining. So I think presenting it potentially, if they say, gosh, we can't do that. Well, could you biopsy? Because basically that's what we're doing. We're biopsying multiple organs and treating it like a surgery. And maybe they would at least think about the possibility of doing that. And I think that's what we do. And that's, again, because I know what our clients would face if they needed to drive 3.5 hours to get to the facility, but we've got to wait and go during office hours, or we've got to be able to reach somebody and it makes it a little more doable if we think about it.
So just to clarify, is that the full or the partial necropsy that you're referring to?
We do the partial because we don't have the instrumentation to do the full.
Gotcha.
I think that the only tissue that we miss on that is neurologic tissue.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I think that's the only tissue that we're missing.
No, that's a great way to present it. Thanks, Stephanie. Yeah.
That's huge. And Stephanie, I want to say something that a lot of us forget. as pet owners and as part of the Golden Retriever Lifetime Study. I want to thank you because I know we've had some pretty deep conversations a few times on a lot of this. And, you know, you all go through it just as much as we do. And I, as a veterinarian, you know, it's so hard. And my vet is also a very good friend of mine. And I worry constantly because it's such a draining situation. But also, I think we all need to remember that Morris Animal Foundation, you know, they have feelings too. And, you know, they have pets and they go through a lot of the same situations that we do as well. We're all human here. And just because we have different titles or, you know, different parts of the study, we are all emotional human beings. And we have to keep that up front and foremost. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. But Leona, that may be part of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Be part of it. It may be the just the taking care of themselves aspect of it. But I would present it as a surgical, we're doing biopsies approach.
Yeah.
And I think it does sometimes make it a little bit more manageable.
Yeah.
Because in the end, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So and I think Sherry and I have our angels. I feel just as supported today, almost 2 years post my loss, than I did 5 years ago. So I guess for those that are watching this that are on the fence or, okay, now I'm really on the fence, I don't know what I'm going to do. There's a ton of support. And Beth, you put it perfectly. We are a family and we're going to continue to be a family, and reach out to anybody and everybody. Because there is so much support and they are our kids.
Yep.
So don't feel like you're not, if I know I've seen some things, it's like, oh, it took me forever to post and I feel so bad. Don't, we all grieve. It's a cycle of grief, and just know that there's a ton of support. And this is probably the best family I've ever seen.
Right.
The support, you know, it's way, way more than 3,000 strong. Yep.
And that, you know, when we developed this page in the very beginning, when we were still in talks with people and Morris that aren't even there anymore, you know, it was the main purpose of the page. To go back to that is the support that we're seeing now. And just like stuff like this, you know, we need to support each other. We knew we were going to need to support throughout the study. And man, as it grew with flying colors, I couldn't be more proud of so much that we get done on the page because of you all and how we can do this through
the connections, everybody.
The connections, the sad news, the good news, the new puppies, you know, the Valentine's Day and the gift exchange for, you know, everyone, our supporters. We could not do so much without our supporters. So, you know, I just wish I could just do an inclusive big hug for everybody because it's turned out so much better than I ever thought it could ever be.
I agree.
So,
Yeah.
but wow, we got a lot covered here, I think.
We did,
So,
and we're at about an hour.
Really
Beth,
did.
So we probably ought to let people go pretty
Okay.
soon.
Yes. Is there
But-
any closing statements anybody has? Anything that they want to close with or?
Last thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
You know,
thank
thanks
you.
for the invitation to participate. If there's follow-up, I would
Yeah.
love to continue to be a part of it. Beth and Stephanie, you know, thanks as vets and doing what you guys do. Thank you. Leslie and Leona as our go-to members. Thank you. Sherry, Valerie, you know, thanks.
Well, and I think Stephanie, as a vet, I always say our vet deserves sainthood. I think every vet that
Yes.
has been with us over the years deserves sainthood. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just appreciate you all. I mean, those of us on the leadership team sort of had to do this because Beth would have like overly twisted our arm. But Leona, Stephanie, really thank you guys for jumping on board too, because you added
a
so
pleasure.
much to this
Yeah.
conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
we will do it again. When we get to the point where we actually post this and we get some responses, I think we should follow up with answers to some questions from all of us. You know, I'm sure there's going to be some questions, and just in general, anything that we want to bring up as a group. Yeah, we have a pretty good mix of people on here right now, and I think that it might be a great thing to do, maybe a quarterly whatever.
Yeah. Now that we know how to work these Zoom recordings.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks. Yes.
Yeah, and
All
I just
right.
want to say again, I think what Amy was pushing is that we are a family. Yes, there's the Go team, which is more of a, I don't want to say formal, but kind of a formal way to reach out if you need help. But a lot of, groups say, don't cold message somebody, but if you see somebody on the page that's going through something that you're going through, but you don't feel comfortable posting on the page, because sometimes people can be a little free with their comments and you don't want to do that, reach out to that person directly, message them, because everybody, is willing to help out and share their thoughts. And I've had a lot of people do that. And, I think it's a good thing to know that everybody's there for you, whichever means or method that you take to reach out to them.
Good point. Yep. All right.
Thank
Thank you all. I appreciate it more than I can say. And I just, like I said, I just felt like this is something that needed to go out there, and hopefully it'll be a tool that somebody can use.
So thank you all for joining us and for listening to us for this last hour.
Yes.
And
Bye,
with
guys. We'll talk soon.
Bye.